Welcome to the 12 Report with Blessings Mosugu, and these are the headlines. Federal government sounds alarm on heavy rains in 11 states as Ogun State tells residents in flood zones to move now. Resident doctors in the FCT reject call to suspend strike action. Down tools today. Another outbreak in DR Congo as the country races to vaccinate as the new outbreak emerges. As usual, we have our reporters stationed in different parts of the country and outside. We have Bongani Ziba joining us from South Africa, Omolola Ololade in Lagos, Emmanuel Bagudu in Kaduna, Amenze Bazwaye joins us from Edo State, and Biola Festus in Rivers State, while Aisha Salihu will be joining us from Abuja. We've got the details in a moment. Now to the stories. We start from the Federal Capital Territory, where resident doctors have declared an indefinite strike effective from today, Monday the 15th of September, citing government failure to address their demands for better working conditions and unpaid entitlements. This follows a one-week warning strike last week, with doctors vowing to continue the action until meaningful dialogue takes place. This comes less than 24 hours after Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors suspended its 5-day warning strike. The association's president, Dr. Tope Oshundara, confirmed the suspension, but the Abuja branch of the association insists on going ahead with the action. Resident doctors in the Federal Capital Territory, still speaking on the strike action, have declared an indefinite strike effective from today, Monday, the 15th of September, 2025. And as earlier mentioned, we talked about the fact that their needs are yet to be met, and that's why they're dropping their tools today. News Central's Aisha Salihu joins us for more update on this. Aisha, thanks for joining us. What is the general mood on the doctors choosing to drop their equipment today and begin the strike?
Thank you so much, Blessings. As you can see, I'm standing right in front of the Maitama District Hospital, and we have been going around the hospitals within the FCT, and even here where we are standing, well, we've spoken to patients, we've also spoken to members of staff of the hospital, other medical personnel, and from what we have gathered so far, we realize that the doctors, the nurses who are on duty at the moment, Blessings, just like we're back with the strike issue again. You remember when the nurses went on strike, but now it's the resident doctors. And from the hospital staff that we've spoken with, they are saying that we know that doctors do not work in silos. They work with nurses, they work with other hospital staff. But now for the doctors here, they are on strike. So the healthcare service delivery is very, very skeletal. We have spoken with patients who are being turned back because they cannot be attended to since the resident doctors are on strike. It's just the medical officers and the consultants who are on duty at the moment, just seeing patients and without any serious recourse to what's actually going on. That's basically what's going on in the hospital at the moment.
So, we understand that the impact of this on patients and even the healthcare workers can't be a good one. So, so far, how is this impacting the patient care and the emergencies across the affected healthcare facilities?
As a matter of fact, I'm just stepping out from the accident and emergency ward, and I saw most patients just sitting there. Nobody is attending to them. It's just the medical officers who are available. Even some pregnant women are being turned away because there's nobody really no specialist on duty to talk to them. The resident doctors in the FCT are really taking this strike seriously because they say until their demands are met, they are not going back, even though the National Association of the Resident Doctors had suspended their own strike. But the ones for the FCT is still continuing their own strike and saying until their demands are met, they're not going back.
Are there any ongoing negotiations or responses from government authorities to the doctors' demands, or is it radio silence still now?
at the moment, there is no, I'm not aware of any negotiations going on, but part of their demands and what they keep asking for is the working condition of the doctors, the fact that they are spending long hours, working, and then since 2011, they're saying that the FCT has not employed newer doctors to work with them. So there is the toll, psychological toll on doctors. They're working long hours, and there is no new recruitment to help them with their work. And among other issues is the delay and failure to implement promotions, and then skipping policies of doctors who have passed requisite exams. And also they're talking about broken promises and lack of timely action by the FCT administration. And also they're looking at lack of inclusion and poor governance. And you'd recall that even some of their salaries were withheld salaries and non-payment of 127 members for their April 2025 salaries, which was withheld by the Federal Capital Territory Civil Service Commission. So these are part of the issues, and they're saying that until words are put to paper, they just don't want to go back with verbal agreement until words are put to paper and they are being implemented before they can then say the strike will be called off. But right now, they are down in tools. There's no resident doctor attending to patients at the moment, especially in this particular hospital where I'm standing.
Aisha, Salihu, thank you for the update. We understand that this will have a dire effect, but we're hoping it doesn't have a fatal effect, especially on the patient. Thank you once again. The federal government has issued a fresh flood alert, warning that 32 locations across 11 states are at risk of heavy rainfall and possible flooding between the 14th and the 18th of September. The Environment Ministry says rising water levels in the Niger, Benue, and Gongola rivers could submerge low-lying communities, particularly around Lokoja and Numan. Among the areas at risk are Ganye and Natubi in Adamawa State, Abinsi, Agio, Gogo, Itu, Makurdi, Udoma, and Upiam in Benue State, as well as Agima, Rukubi, and Odogo in Nasarawa State. Now, other vulnerable communities include Beli, Serti, and Donga in Taraba State, Rijau and in Niger State, in several locations in Delta, Kebbi, Kano, Katsina, Sokoto, and Zamfara State. Authorities warn that worsening rainfall patterns have already claimed over 231 lives across Nigeria this year, highlighting the urgent need for evacuation and preparedness in flood-prone areas. Meanwhile, the Ogun State government has issued an urgent warning to residents in flood-prone communities like Isheri, Akute, Warewa, and parts of Ogun waterside to relocate immediately to safer areas. This follows predictions of heavy rainfall, seawater rise, and potential overflow from rivers, including the Ogun River, which may worsen with water releases from the Onyo Dam. Commissioner for Environment Ola Oresonye says the expected flooding could last up to 2 weeks, with peak rainfall predicted in September and in October. The National Emergency Management Agency has stepped up rescue and relief efforts in Kaduna after torrential rains and the overflow of River Kaduna left several communities submerged. A response team led by NEMA's Chief Search and Rescue Officer is working with the State Emergency Agency and other partners to evacuate trapped residents and assess the level of destruction. The flood has displaced many families, destroyed properties, and forced some victims to seek refuge with relatives and friends. Rescue teams have already reached areas including Kigo Road, Nasarawa, Bashama Road, Haliru Dantoro Road, Kabala Constain, Rafin Guza, and surrounding communities. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu is currently in Kaduna now and joins us for the latest. Emmanuel Bagudu, we understand that some families in Kaduna are currently trapped. Some have been displaced, and some, are at the danger of being trapped if they don't evacuate their houses. What is the response from these families to evacuate, and what is the response from the government to help those who are trapped?
Well, thank you very much. Of course, what is happening right now is the damage assessment and, of course, the rescue operation as a result of the flood that happened. It's a very devastating flood that, making the entire city center and, of course, the outskirts, which is Zaria, a lot of people are confused. We're talking about Kaduna North, local government at the Kaduna metropolis, and, of course, Savangari local government in Savangari in Zaria, where we have I estimated over 400 children missing, and of course here in Kaduna city center, about 6 to 7 communities all displaced right at the center of Kaduna, talking about Kaduna North. And the bone of contention here is the rise in the water level of River Kaduna, which has rise to its capacity. And of course, any moment from now, it may shut down the entire road. They are blocking the Kaduna North and the Kaduna South, boundaries. So it's a situation that is under assessment. The figures that have been released on the media, the social media, according to NEMA, are actually not confirmed, because NEMA is actually conducting an assessment right now, because they said that they are receiving reports, and as soon as they conclude this assessment, they are going to bring out the actual figures of those who are displaced. And for now, no dead body has been discovered, but of course, parents have reported their children missing. More than 100 parents so far have reported that their children are missing. So there is a case of displacement, yes, it's true, but of course, what NEMA is saying is that residents have to be patient and wait for this assessment to carry on. Of course, it's a very devastating issue. You have seen those pictures, you have seen the complaints coming in from residents. It's expected that the State Emergency Management Agency and the NEMA are going to put hands together to bring this, control this flood to the clearest minimum. Yeah.
So, Emmanuel, beyond rescue operations, what other plans are in place to support those who have lost their homes, those who have been displaced?
Sorry, I didn't get that question again, please.
So, beyond the evacuation plans and rescue operations, what other plans are in place to support those who have already been displaced? They've lost their homes and lost their livelihoods as well. Unfortunately, it appears we've lost connection with Emmanuel Bagudu. I'm hoping we can reconnect with him to find out what the effect is and what plans are in place to support those who are already displaced. But in the meantime, let's go to Edo State, where the state capital, Benin City, a project once hailed as the answer to flooding, is now causing fresh anxiety. Residents of the Ogun community say the retention pond built under the former Governor Godwin Obaseki administration to manage stormwater is failing. Instead of controlling the floods, it often overflows during heavy rains, damaging homes and property. For more on this development, we now cross to my colleague in Edo State, Amenze Bazwaye, who is standing by at one of the affected sites to give us more update. Amenze, can you bring us up to speed on this unfortunate drastic turn of event? I mean, this was supposed to be built to bring comfort to the people and ease to the people, but now it's causing tension. What's that about?
Thank you very much, Blessings. I'm currently right here at a landed property, of course, a plot of land, a very large plot of land, where that flooding situation is actually affecting it. I don't know if you can see behind me, there's a whole lot of flooding. In fact, it has actually reduced. When I spoke to some residents earlier today, they said it was quite high, almost reaching the top of the fence that you can see there. A lot of them are saying that the water retention pond, which was supposed of course, flood with an effort, has now become a problem for each and every one of them. 50 plots of land. When we walk down into the community, over 50 plots of land have actually been submerged by the water. Some persons who are actually have building projects here are complaining that workers come today, they build, they try to establish some work done, and by the time they come the following day, if peradventure the rain falls, that job done becomes another thing, and they have to start all over again. So a lot of workers do not even want to come here to, of course, help those who are building to do that. Some persons have had to abandon their building projects, fences have fallen, foundations have been destroyed basically, and some of them who are actually still living in the area say their properties have been destroyed time and time and again. And they're really complaining that if the current state government can actually do something about it, they would really appreciate it. But I'll let you talk to someone right now, or I'll talk to someone right now who is a resident here in this community. Jackson, please, can you come this way? Good afternoon, you're live on News Central TV. So just tell us a little bit about what the situation is here. How has it been so far, and how long have you guys had to face this challenge?
Good afternoon. My name is Ogun. We are at Ogun community. This is Ogun. We have been in this situation during the time of Obaseki.
All right, Amenze, if you can hear me, unfortunately, we can't seem to hear the interviewee clearly. But in the meantime, we'll go on a short break. When we come back, we'll try to reestablish connections with the person she's speaking with, and then we'll get to understand the feel of what the people think about that area. Just stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. We're still going to Edo State, where we talked about a project that was supposed to bring comfort to the people, which has now become a cause for anxiety from the people. We still have our correspondent, Emmanuel Bagudu, who was trying to give us a feel of what the people think about that before we went on the break. Emmanuel, please go ahead.
All right, thank you very much, Blessings. Like I said earlier on, I'm going to be talking with Jackson right here. He's a resident in Ogun community, specifically on Obomo Street right here. So, Mr. Jackson, just talk to us a little bit about the situation here. How long have you had to go through all of this?
My name is Jackson Obomo. I live at Obomo Road in Ogun here, in a residence. Before Basati came, this area has been a erosion-free area. So we are not discussing it. So since Basati came to this place, came to inform us that they are commencing the erosion in their way down to this side, and from here they will take it to the river. Since then, we started having this erosion problem. So the erosion that we are currently facing in this place is down from point one at Gapuna, Iriri, Sagere, and other villages ahead of us. Then this last one is from 7, which they connected the water to. So they are not supposed to stop here, as they promised us that they will take the water to the river side, which is down there. So but they stopped the whole work at this place, and ever since during the time of this urban sector again, we started having this erosion problem. We cannot access our house whenever it rains. We cannot access our businesses. We used to have a poultry farm and other businesses in this area. But if it's safe, the erosion will continue to flow for another 4 days. If you are outside, you cannot come in. If you are inside, you cannot go out for the next 4 days before the water will now be coming down gradually. That is the situation in this place.
All right, so tell us what you would like the current administration, the current government of the state to do about this.
Yes, we have been writing petitions, series of petitions to the government house, looking to local government, looking to House of Assembly. Currently, we are still begging the federal government, Senator Mondo to come to our aid. Recently, it came to inspection with the inspection of government property protection agency. So they came because we wrote to them, we did their attention to this place, and they came, they witnessed the situation. But ever since they promised us that they will be back to tell us their next step of action. Ever since we are still waiting them. So we are still begging on our government to please come to our aid. Because the previous government the previous government will not just try to settle a erosion problem in one other area. All
right, Amenze, if you can hear me, our time is far spent if you can hear me, but thank you for the feedback, especially from the people in that area. I can see the area behind you, and it looks like a sorry situation. But in the meantime, we have to move on to more stories. Let's talk politics now. The countdown is on in Rivers State as the 6-month emergency rule winds down. Events marking the transition began on Sunday with a Thanksgiving service in Port Harcourt. At the service, the sole administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ibok Etebas, reflected on the situation he inherited, a state divided, unstable, and weighed down by broken trust. He thanked the people for their patience, support, and understanding during his tenure. We'll go live to join another colleague of mine, Biola Festus, who is on the streets of Port Harcourt to gauge the mood and find out what's going on. Biola Festus, as the people anticipate democratic rule, what is the general mood? Biola Festus, we can't hear you. Unfortunately, we can't hear Biola Festus. Again, we'll try to reestablish audio connections with her and find out what the mood is in Port Harcourt. In Delta, the state government has waded into the controversy over the new dress code for civil servants. At a press briefing in Asaba, Commissioner for Works, Rural Roads and Public Information Charles Anyagu said the dress code is aimed at promoting discipline, decency and professionalism within the civil service. He stressed that senior officers must lead by example by modeling appropriate attire, setting the tone for the rest of the workforce. Let's cross over now to News Central's Austin Azu to give us an update on that development. Austin, it's quite a development. How are the people reacting to the new dress code for civil servants?
Yes, good afternoon, Blessing. We are currently at the State Secretariat complex, and just about a few minutes ago, the State Commissioner for Public Enlightenment and Works, Rural, actually, had a press briefing where he talked about the controversy surrounding the dress code. And civil servants in the state here have been expressing diverse opinions about this development. However, because of want of time, we have one of the civil servants here, Enite Igere. Please come forward. He's a civil servant. He works here in the secretariat here. Okay, bring us to speed. How did you see this policy by the state government?
It was last week we received the circular where the head of service directed that civil servants should comply with the rules on dressing. And like I always would tell people, like, these are not new rules. They are rules that have been there because the service has its own rules for civil servants. But however, the issues now has to do with the economy. People are looking at the fact that, okay, for those who have not been abiding by the rules, how do they go about changing, the addresses or clothes that they have? So that's the issue now. If not, it's not a new rule.
Okay, you talked about the economy. However, look at other issues again confronting civil servants. Most of them talked about their wardrobe allowances, and you are a civil servant. In what area do you think that most of your colleagues can actually afford this dress code being proposed or being talked about by the state government?
I think you're concentrating too much on dress codes, because what the circular says is not only about how people dress, it's about something about decency, in the sense that it's expected that civil servants will have a way they look, so that so to show that really they are public servants. Then also for when you're talking about civil servants, those of us who are in the service, I talked about the economy, that really it is difficult for a lot of persons. But as it is now, people have to look at ways to look at how we can buy maybe cheaper things while trying to look decent. You don't have to go for the expensive suits or the expensive gowns or skirts or whatever. I think civil servants must begin to now look at how we can manage our meager resources.
All right. Thank you very much. Actually, the state commissioner actually talked about that civil servants should champion their opinion about what they thought about this issue of dress code. We have Monday Whisker. Monday Whisker is, please come this way. Monday Whisker is one of the voices in the youth organization here in Delta. Okay, Monday Whisker, tell me, how do you think about this dress code for civil servants?
Okay, my name is Comrade Whisker Monday, and I'm the state chairman, Southern Nigeria Youth Congress, Delta State. Well, I think it's in the right step. It's the right step in the right direction, because I feel as a civil servant, there must be a way you should dress. Bankers have their own way of dressing. People in the medical field, they have their own way of dressing. So I also feel that as the Civil Service Commission, also the civil servant, there must be a standard of which they dress. Because sometimes I do come to the secretariat and I see some of the civil servants on just those palm slippers. It's not supposed to be like that. So I feel it is a right thing for them to do, for them to dress corporate and dress decent at all times, because the Civil Service Commission is like the corporate image of the state workforce. So they must dress decently at all times.
Okay, Monday, I quite agree with you, but the civil servants are quite happy that yes, they ought to dress neatly. But however, the cost of affording a suit right now, one of them told us that to get a suit for himself would cost him about 100,000 naira, and the minimum wage is just benched at 70,000 naira. Don't you think this would be a burden on them?
Well, the truth is that it will be a burden, but you can get a suit of 50,000, 70,000 around in Asaba here. If you're looking for a suit of 150,000, that's for a very high quality suit. But with 50,000, 70,000, you can get a good looking suit. Yeah.
Okay.
And also, I feel you can also plan towards it. When you have and something to achieve, you must budget. yourself, make plans for it.
All right, because of want of time, let me ask you this question. In what area do you think this will improve the workforce in terms of motivation?
Okay, I think when the public or the citizens come into any of their office and see the way they address, it will boost the way they see the civil servant, the respect. You know, it's be dressed the way you want to be addressed. So when they see you dressed where they address you very well and they give you the maximum respect you deserve.
All right, thank you very much. However, the state chairman of Labour is still speaking on this issue, and we tend to get to him to get his own side of the story. By and large, every civil servant wants to look good, but the financial implication is what most of them are still reacting to. Hopefully that they will be able to come up with their demands regarding the dress code and the befitting aspects they want to see among themselves. That's the wardrobe allowance. So back to you in the studio, Blessing.
Austin Azu, thank you for the update. I mean, I'm glad that it was a balanced point of view from both people you spoke about. We cannot completely take away the need for a reassessment of their monthly take-home if we're talking about dressing corporately. But then again, there is the need to always look good and be presentable regardless of what your take-home is. Thank you once again, Austin, for the update. Let's go back to Port Harcourt now, where we have my colleague Biola Festus to give us an update on the expectancy of the people regarding democratic leadership. Biola Festus, if you can hear me, I see that you are with someone there. Please go ahead.
2 days to the end of the emergency in River State, and as a person, based on the interviews we've done, based on the outcries we've heard, I was expecting that Port Harcourt people by this time would have been jubilating, looking at the fact that their governor will soon be reinstated to the presidency Jimmy State on the 18th of this month. Well, we've been on the streets of Port Harcourt. It's a raining day. It's been raining since yesterday, and up to this moment, it's still drizzling. But we have the people around us. Some are saying that they do not want him back because it looks like embarrassment. But I have Mr. Ndebisi right here with you, who will be sharing his own point of view about the whole emergency. So thank you for waiting with us. So I'm going to ask you this. Between the period of the emergency rule and when the governor was in place, what has changed?
The emergency rule in River State, I got a lot of plastic and coverage under River State. So the democratic setting that was the operation of River State was actually translated. Economic, strife, came in. People are suffering because they're not moving and moving. So, and even if people are not being paid. So a lot of things were going on. So it's not approved by any longer. The thing is just about another not something to that. And the system also it's a threatening set of systems because people are not even happy about the whole thing. And talking about maybe that they want to reset in. We from illegality to legality. Okay, what's happening? There is no way to elected the governor illegally. The emergency rule. Under the state of emergency rule now, the emergency, the state they brought in now, it's a threat as if there is an elected governor. He's doing something that many people are supposed not to have done. They say you should come and break the university. It's not even after the king, but still bringing, trying to run the system of the funds, making new laws. So, going after project.
Okay, now let me give you a little break. Now that it's 2 days left for the governor that was elected to come back, are you excited? Does this mean River State is about to jubilate again and be happy?
Yeah, for me, I think I said that the governor will come back. But on my talking with so many other friends, like, what's the need for you to coming back again? So governor led the school for the thing of emergency, emergency in River State. Now, during this emergency rule that allows the first 6 months, they have now conducted the election and brought in another administration in absence of the governor. So the whole thing is complicated. So it's like they're taking over. They are kind of
like they say somewhere, and took everything that they bring to the state, and I want to bring back the state empty. That's what I supposed to be. That's it. So the people are not happy. Happy.
Even as it's coming back in 2 days, maybe.
Viola Festus, if you can hear me, I apologize, we won't be able to take the final question, but thank you for the update so far. And I can see the, the vigor with which he explained the situation. That's to tell you that not just the leadership now, but even the citizens are feeling the pulse of the decision that is about to be made. Now we go to education. Schools are back in session across the country as primary and secondary schools return for the 2025-2026 academic year. While the students are excited to reunite with teachers, friends, after a long third-term break, many parents say the joy is dampened by the soaring costs of school fees and essential supplies. News Central Omolola Ololade is at a secondary school in Lagos monitoring the first day activities. She now joins us live to give us update. Omolola, I mean, it's mixed feelings from what we can tell. Parents are not entirely pleased with the soaring cost of school fees, but the students are excited to reunite with their friends and their teachers. What's the general mood in the school where you're at?
Hello, blessings. Yes, yeah, we're in one of the secondary schools in Okota area of Lagos, and then from what I can find out from these students and of course their teachers, the mood is an exciting one, especially down from when they had to come on the assembly ground this morning. The kids were excited to be back in school, seeing their friends again after the long holiday, after the third term break, which was about a month or close to that. And then some of these students are saying that they're happy to be back, and that's basically because the holidays at some point they got bored, and then now they are back in school with their friends. They can see their friends again. They can go back to learning. For some of them, they said learning is fun for them, and that they are excited to be back in their classrooms. And even for the teachers, speaking to them, some teachers are like, yes, it can be tough teaching some of the students, but at the same time, they miss them, they miss teaching, and it's good for them to be back into the classroom to do what they love to do.
So we have examined the reactions of the students and the teachers, but let's talk about how the parents are feeling regarding the high cost of education, especially for this session. Beyond the excitement, how are the parents reacting to this?
Well, blessings. I spoke to a lot of parents this morning, and then one thing seems to, come out of the mouth of every one of them, and that is the fact that the economy is not smiling, neither is their pocket smiling at this moment. It said as much as, they're excited that their students are back, their children rather, are back in the classroom, they don't have to disturb the home and all that, but at the same time, they have to bear the brunt of, paying the school fees, buying school items, and as you can see, or rather as, we've noticed, because asking them, the school fees has increased, has skyrocketed, and then for some of them it's between 70% to 100% increase, and many of these parents are not finding it funny. They say that they as much as they want as much as they're not finding it funny, the students still needs to be educated. They want to give their children the best education, and of course for them to get that education, it must come at a price, and of course they are the one paying the price. Some of them are saying that apart from paying school fees, they have to buy school items, they have to buy textbooks, they have to buy school bags, and even feeding. Everything just comes at a price, and then they're not finding it fun in this period.
Omolola Ololade, thank you for the update. We're hoping that there is at least a relief method that the parents can pay the school fees of the children so that they can stay in school and be happy. Thanks for the update. All right, to business now. Nigerian crude remains stable below $70 as Ukrainian drone strikes on Russian refineries threatened global supply. Bunny Light and Brass River traded below $68, while Brent rose to $67.3. Oil theft in Nigeria hit a 16-year low with average losses of 9,600 barrels per day in 2024, thanks to improved metering, security, and new evacuation routes. NUPRC secured $400 million in decomposing liabilities and delayed shells, $1.33 billion. divestment over environmental concerns. Globally, markets eye U.S.-China trade talks and a possible Fed rate cut amid slowing job growth and high inflation, impacting oil demand in world's top consumer. Nigeria's crude oil exports fell by 3.18 trillion naira to 24.92 trillion naira in the first half of 2025, down from 28.10 trillion naira in the first half of 2024 at 11.3% decline. Crude's share of exports dropped 52.6% in the second quarter of 2025 from 71.2% in the second quarter of 2024. Meanwhile, non-crude exports surged to 18.43 trillion naira from 8.79 trillion naira. Despite the oil slump, total exports hit 43.35 trillion naira against 30.71 trillion naira in imports, creating a trade surplus of 12.64 trillion naira, up 54.6% year-on-year. Nigeria also spent 4 trillion naira on fuel imports in the first half of 2025, with fuel in the second quarter import cost reaching 2.3 trillion naira, up from 1.76 trillion naira in the first quarter. Coming up on the news, DR Congo begins new vaccine program against viral disease. We'll bring you the details after the break. Stay with us. Staying with us, the Democratic Republic of Congo has begun a vaccine program against the fresh Ebola epidemic, which has killed 28 people in the country since late August. A first load of 400 doses against the often fatal viral disease was handed out in the hotspot town of Bulape in the central Kasai province. The last outbreak of Ebola in the vast Central African nation was 3 years ago and killed 6 people. According to the latest toll from the Congolese health authorities, 28 deaths and 81 confirmed cases have been registered since the first confirmed infection of a pregnant 34-year-old woman on the 20th of August. The WHO believes the fatality rate from this epidemic, which was declared in early September, to be around 35%. Now it's deja vu in Malawi as President Lazarus Chakwera goes head-to-head once again with former leader Peter Mutharika in Tuesday's presidential race. With inflation soaring, fuel shortages biting, and jobs scarce, frustration is high among Malawians heading to the polls. A new Afrobarometer survey shows the vast majority of citizens believe the country is heading in the wrong direction. With memories still fresh of the 2019 election results being thrown out by the courts over widespread irregularities, the question of transparency and fairness looms large. We now cross over to our correspondent Bongani Siziba, who joins us from the capital Lilongwe with the latest. Bongani, what's the update on the elections we're expecting?
A very good afternoon to you, Blessings, and our viewers at home. It's just hours before Malawi heads to the polls, and it's highly anticipated general elections. The atmosphere here is remarkably quiet, a stark contrast to the usual hustle and bustle of pre-election activities that I've witnessed in other countries that I've covered in Southern Africa. Over the past hours, I've been driving around several neighborhoods, speaking to citizens about their daily routines despite the looming electoral moment. But I'll ask my colleague Bonelom Kasibe just to show you. We are at a service station and we can see the queue is very long here with motorbikes, cars, all they are here for fuel. One of the problems, the challenges that people are facing here in Malawi, the fuel challenges, and also there is also the drought challenges. Some of them that I spoke about fertilizers, because many Malawians depend on agriculture, so the high cost of fertilizers and also the electricity problems are As you can see here, the queues, they are queuing for fuel, and some of them have to travel to their respective homes just to vote tomorrow. But let me just bring in Yamikani, a political analyst, just to speak to us about the political atmosphere. Thank you for joining us, ma'am. You can come closer. What is the political atmosphere? We have seen two former presidents vying for the seat. How do you think the Malawians are going to vote, looking at that some of them are saying that former President Peter Mutharika failed them during his time? We also have Joyce Banda, and we also have the incumbent. How do you think the votes will sway?
Basically, if you look at the atmosphere, I think it has been a bit quiet. Of course, we've seen some forms of violence in different districts during the campaign period, but it has not really escalated as compared to other countries, what we've seen in other countries. It's been managed, although some people have lost properties like cars, some people even were injured, but we haven't seen the extreme to like death. Well, if you look at the former presidents competing in the past elections, what they're bringing, if you look at the manifestos and the messages that they were delivering during the campaign period, it was like, during my time, I achieved this. So they are looking at the achievements that they made, and then they're looking at the current situation. You just said about the fuel shortages. So the previous presidents are saying we did not have this during our time, so we can resolve this. Looking at the mistakes or the problems or the challenges that the current government is facing. But the current government also has concentrated on indicating what they have achieved. You look at the road infrastructures and some other things that they think they have achieved, and they think it's remarkable that they should remain into power. So looking at what they're saying, what they've brought on the table, looking at their manifestos, everybody's trying to bring in solutions to the current problems. The main challenge that we have in this election is that our political system, our electoral system changed in 2020. Previously, we used to have the first past the post, which the person or the candidate who gets the most of the votes was voted into power. But right now, the situation changed in 2020, so we are looking at half of the votes, of the total votes. So it's 50% over 50%. So the person who will get over 50%. But if you look at our systems in Malawi, our political parties, they are basically more regionalistic. So they are divided, and it's tribal, and everything else goes into where you're coming from, which is your main benchmark. So I don't think we are going to have one candidate. That's my opinion. We're going to have one candidate who will go through the 50+1.
Okay, thank you, Blessing. I just want to try something here, but I know the language barrier will be a problem. If I could try to speak to some of these people that are on the queue. Hello, how are you? Good. Tell us the kind of problems that you are facing, especially when you see this queue, this long queue.
No, I'm just not understanding.
Blessing, you can hear, they cannot understand. Can you speak to me? Okay. Hi, can you speak to me? Okay, so Blessing, the problem here is language barriers, but you can see the queues here, the fuel queues that are here, and it's one of those filling stations like we have been going around. The queues are like this, so Malawians will be going to vote tomorrow, so it's left to them on how they will vote, but the challenges that they are facing here in Malawi, it's fuel challenges, drought, and also the unemployment rate. It's now back to you in the studio, Blessing.
Thank you so much, Mongani. Regardless of the language barrier, we can see the cues and the effect as well. Thanks for the update. Now, going outside the shores of Africa, Nepal's new interim Prime Minister, Sushila Karki, has appointed her first ministers on Monday as the nation strives for stability following deadly youth-led anti-corruption protests. The oath-taking ceremony took place near the fire-damaged presidential office. The unrest, triggered by a social media ban and long-standing economic woes, erupted on the 8th of September, leading to at least 72 deaths and widespread destruction. Karki, a former Chief Justice, faces the task of addressing demands for a corruption-free government before elections due in March. Key appointments include Prakash Aryal as Home Minister, Kulman Gising overseeing energy and infrastructure, and economist Rameshwar Kanal managing finance, crucial roles amid soaring youth unemployment and economic challenges. In Türkiye, the legal case against main opposition party, the Republican People's Party, has been adjourned. The trial centered on allegations of irregularities during the CHP's 2023 Congress could have led to the annulment of the party's leadership election and removal of Chairman Özgür Özel. The court postponed proceedings amid jurisdictional questions and after requests from the defense. The case is seen by many as politically motivated effort to weaken the opposition ahead of upcoming elections. Thousands have protested what they call a crackdown on democracy. The CHP denies all allegations and vows to continue resisting political pressure as the trial resumes at a later date. When foreign aid gets caught, the headlines focus on hospitals and schools. But there's another story playing out on Zimbabwe street, one that reveals just how far the ripple effects of political decisions can travel. Cecilia Roosevlt's work has become exponentially more dangerous overnight. This may surprise you. She is a sex worker in Harare, and as many people would probably not notice, in Trump's court to foreign health aid, she can no longer access the free condoms that once meant the difference between earning money safely and risking her life to feed her children. It's a reminder of how global politics plays out in the most vulnerable lives. When U.S. health aid was slashed earlier this year, it didn't just affect government programs. It gutted the community centers that provided HIV prevention tools, antiretrovirals, and basic health care to thousands of Zimbabwe sex workers. The mathematics are unforgiving. No condoms equals no work, which equals no food for families. But work without protection equals potential HIV infection, which in a country where healthcare is already stretched thin, can be a death sentence.
So the main impact that we see on the ground here in Mbare and in Epworth, where we are working, is that we are receiving more requests than before, especially regarding those vulnerable groups, including sex workers. It's like before the US cuts, the system was quite well established, well known by the patient themselves and the people seeking for services. They knew where to go based on the age group, based on the characteristic, or based on the services that they need. Since the disruption of the US aids, that's what is impacted most. They don't know where to go. They don't know where to seek services.
Well, I'll quickly add to that this isn't just about one profession or one country. It's about how foreign aid cuts, often decided in air-conditioned offices thousands of miles away, cascade down to the most marginalized people in the society. The ones who were already working in the shadows are now pushed further into darkness. Zimbabwe sex workers are scrambling for alternatives, but in a country grappling with economic collapse, alternatives are scarce. Foreign policy isn't just about treaties and trade deals. It's about a mother in Harare trying to work safely enough to put food on her table. Sometimes the most profound impacts of international decisions are measured not in GDP or diplomatic victories, but in access to a simple condom. That's your postscript. Very quickly, let's take a look at the sports story we have for today. In Tokyo, it's a different situation, not the medals, but the message. Nigerian athletes are grabbing headlines at the 2025 World Athletics Championship, this time for calling out their administrators. Let's quickly hear from Onyechi Obaru. Onyechi, are you ready for us?
Yes, of course, I am. Blessings. It's been headlines being made by Nigerian athletes who are calling out the Athletics Federation of Nigeria. After Tobi Amusan's reaction, we did hear from Tokyo, Samuel Ogazi, a quarter miler who said he was forced to, take the 400 meters even when he said he was injured, after he did tell the administrators that he was injured. We will talk more about that and get to weigh the options and implications on In the Game at 1 p.m.
Thank you so much, Onyechi. Well, you've heard it. Stay tuned for In the Game for more on that. And before we go, remember to send your eyewitness report because we want to see what you see. Do also follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can follow us and watch live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, StarTimes 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Blessings Mosugu.